Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. There was a brief executive session at 7 o'clock that lasted 10 minutes. No actions were taken. The flag salute with Mr. Kraus, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think you want to turn around.
For roll call.
Mr. Amendola?
Here.
Mr. Kraus?
Here.
Ms. Perry? Here. Ms. Glasser? Here. Ms. Dammons? Here. Mr. Rosario?
Here.
Mr. Lavasser?
Here.
Mayor Bloom?
Here.
Approval of the bill list dated February 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The approval of the minutes dated January 22nd, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You need a pen? Yeah, good.
By reviewing the sign-in sheet, there appears to be no citizen comments regarding agenda items this evening. All right. There's a motion to terminate Welch, Gold, Siegel, and Piffick, PC, as Crafton Borough Solicitor, and to appoint the law firm of Babs, Callan, Clements, Zollner, PC, to serve as the new Crafton Borough Solicitor effectively immediately at the rate set forth in the engagement letter dated February 12, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr.
we do?
Amendola, you now have the floor.
Thank you. Can we do both of those things in one motion? Firing someone and hiring someone else in the same motion?
Yes.
We can? Okay. At the beginning of January, this council unanimously voted to retain Welch, Gold, and Siegel for the upcoming year, 2018. At our first council meeting, this council opened up the budget surreptitiously under the pretense of dealing with the former library board. But instead, it increased the budget line to over $50,000 for a solicitor to represent this borough. It's a fact that in 2015, the former solicitor before Welch, Gold, Siegel was paid over $60,000. And in 2016 and 17, the Welch firm, through its unique compensation structure, was able to keep our yearly payments under $35,000, essentially completing double the work at almost half the cost. Because in that 2 years, we tore down 2 houses. They did all that litigation, and they cleaned up a lot of open ends that were left over from 2015. So basically, the Welch firm charged us a retainer of $1,000 a month, which included phone consultations. I noticed that on your recommendation of the committee. Is that, are you two the committee? Is that the committee?
Yes.
I thought there were no committees.
This is a
Selection
Actually, I'm
committee.
allowed to continue. Actually, it's inappropriate for me to have dialogue.
Oh, okay. All right, then we won't have any dialogue. Anyway, the unique compensation structure we had with Welch, Gold, Siegel was absolutely the best value because they charged us half the money and did twice the work. Now you're suggesting that we hire a new law firm, and according to the stale proposal we have that's 4 years old, we were going to have to come up with a $50,000 retainer.
Like a point of information,
Which-
please.
Yes, Mr. Kraus.
I don't mean to interrupt, but is the proposal stale, or have they revised their rates for 2018?
From what I understand, the proposal was updated and conversation was had in the meeting with the proposed solicitor.
So are they using, so they're essentially giving us the 2014 rates in 2018?
That is correct.
Thank you.
They're essentially giving us the 2014 rate in 2018, which in their proposal, is there a new proposal you said? There is a new proposal that we haven't seen?
I'd like a point of information.
There is not a newly published, new information was brought to the meeting.
Thank you.
So the answer is no to the new proposal, right? Is that what you're saying? There's no new proposal. And I haven't seen any letter of, what was that letter you called? Letter of?
Letter of engagement.
Where's that? Where's the letter of engagement that's dated today?
Borough manager, do you have a copy of that to share with Vice President? Copy of that.
So we're ready to hire them and we don't have a letter of engagement like it says in the motion?
Correct.
Okay, so you can understand why I'm not going to go along with this. I have nothing but praise for the Babs Callan law firm. I know some of them. Blaine Lucas worked here in Crafton years ago under another law firm. What's Tim's last name? Tim Bish. Tim Bish worked in Crafton before, great guy. They're both great guys. I've met Mr. Corbel, but nothing personal. Believe me, nothing personal. The process in which they went through this is Babs Callan's great for rich communities. Mount Lebanon, Robinson Township, rich communities. It's kind of like hiring Johnny Cochran to represent you in traffic court. And it seems like a waste of taxpayers' money. I have huge concerns about how the process of choosing this new law firm was. I believe that it was greatly flawed with violations of the Sunshine Act and was surrounded by secrecy and absolutely no transparency. And also a blatant disregard of this committee to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Procurement Code, and that's section 518. Pennsylvania Statute 62 Procurement Code 518, competitive selection procedures for certain services. That wasn't even followed. So bottom line, the bottom line for me is this. It's obviously that the collusion of the firing of the current solicitor and the hiring of the new ones took place way before the budget was reopened to accommodate this yearly flat fee of $50,000. And according to the old proposal here, we would basically pay them $4,000 a month, which is 4 times what we're paying Welsh Gold to Siegel. Now, you know, all you people are just going to sit here and let this happen. It's the taxpayers' money that you should be concerned with, and he's trying to get you to spend carelessly. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Amendola.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, Mr. Kraus, you may have the floor.
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts on this issue. But first off, I want to apologize to the citizens of Crafton Borough for the behavior of this elected body during our last meeting on January the 22nd. I don't think anybody on this council had planned on starting 2018 off with such fireworks, but including myself. But during the last week or so, I went back and I watched the meeting on YouTube like it was NFL game film, and I thought we could have done a lot better. And I also heard from my neighbors on this subject, some of which are in this room right now. And it's clear to me that even though we are a new council and we're finding our sea legs, that the citizens we represent expect that the orderly business of their government should continue. So I want to remind all of those listening here, mostly this is addressed to the body, of some basic parliamentary procedure, which I just got a new copy of Robert's Rules today from our solicitor, our engineer, so I'm pretty happy with that. Some basic parliamentary procedure that every council member is an equal and every member of council has the right to speak. But we as a council should be able to hear all viewpoints with respect and remember that even though the minority must be heard, that their views considered, that the right of the majority to make a decision.
Mr. Crouch?
Yes.
We still have a motion on the floor. Would it be possible to table your discussion till the end of our discussion on the motion?
I do have some points that relate to the solicitor and the committee selection process.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
So we as a council need to be able to hear all viewpoints and respect all the members on this body, even though, you know, the minority wants to be heard and they should be heard, they have a right to be heard and their views should be considered. The right of the majority to make a decision on any matter should not be interfered with. So when a conflict arises between members of council, which it is going to happen, we need to remember that the rights of this body supersede the rights of individual members. So that being said, I'd like to address the committee selection process. I think that there's been a lot of discussion about it. There was some discussion last meeting about it, and some things were said. There was an outburst about the fact that the committees were not transparent. So I wanted to take a chance to address that. One, committees were only mentioned in the Borough Code, one place, and it states that all powers can be delegated to a committee as long as it's ratified by council. Two, in 1998, this body adopted an ordinance which made the borough manager the chief administrative officer, and that officer should be working in tandem with council, at the behest of council. In March of 2015, this council inquired about reestablishing committees, and a majority of council determined that they were inefficient. In 2015, this body determined that this meeting tonight would be the de facto committee meeting, a place for the council members to discuss certain matters at length. I'd like to point out that this body also elected Philip Lavasser as president of council, and that the Crafton bylaws stipulate the president of council should be leading the council. That the bylaws also stipulate that the president of council assigns committees as appropriate. So as it stands now, we have no formal committees. We don't have a committee to select a solicitor. We don't have a standing committee to interview marketing reps or code enforcement officers. If it hasn't been, and any action hasn't been taken to set it up, it doesn't exist. So I'd like to pose a rhetorical question. If Crafton has abolished working committees because they were deemed inefficient, and the borough manager is the chief administrative officer and the president of council should be the leader of the team, wouldn't it make sense that they would meet together from time to time to address important borough business, such as finding a new solicitor, if that is what the majority of council is interested in doing? So I'll get to the point. It was alluded at our last meeting that our current council president, in conjunction with our borough manager, have perhaps been acting in bad faith, and that is in the search for the borough solicitor. And I think that the accusation that business was being conducted behind closed doors is false, and I think it's shameful. I'd like to go back to some parliamentary procedure for the moment, and
How long does this go on here?
I have 10 minutes to take it for.
I mean, really, we're way off the subject.
Mr. Kraus
We're in the
is
middle of
making
a
a
motion.
point, and I'm the chair, I'm chairing the
I'll make a
meeting,
point.
and he has the floor. Thank you.
This is a perfect example for what I'm about to read. If I can read from our Borough Code of Conduct.
We're in the middle of a motion.
Yes.
We're supposed to be talking about this.
Mr. Kraus is making a point.
I don't know what.
You may be verbose, but it's his point. Thank you.
I am
I
verbose.
got all night.
So this is a subsection about council members' behavior and conduct during meetings. All those,
We wrote that a couple of years ago.
yeah, you wrote that a couple of years ago. All those present in council meetings have an obligation to obey the legitimate orders of Robert's Rules of Order, council rules, and as well as the authority of the presiding officer of the meeting. I was once told a long time ago by residents in this community that Crafton should sell itself based on the caliber of the people here, and to that I would say we should set a better example. Not just for us, but those who might be looking in from the outside. So with the permission of the chair, I'd like to read directly from a borough resolution in 2014, which was adopted as the council code of conduct, to prevent the types of outbursts that we have heard since the January 22nd borough meeting. May I do so?
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. So this is under the subsection of practicing civility and decorum in discussions and debate. Quote, difficult decisions, tough challenges to a particular point of view, and criticism of ideas and information are legitimate elements of a free democracy in action. This does not allow, however, council members to make belligerent, personal, impertinent, slanderous, threatening, abusive, or disparaging comments. No shouting or physical actions that can be misconstrued as threatening will be tolerated. And in the following paragraph, there's a subsection called honoring the role of the president in maintaining order. Quote, council members should honor efforts by the president to focus discussion on the current agenda items. If there is a disagreement about the agenda or the chair's actions, those objections will be voiced politely and with reason, following procedures outlined in Robert's Rules of Order for Parliamentary Procedure. So, in conclusion, I was not elected to settle past scores between members of this body who feel they may be owed something and didn't get what they wanted. Elections have consequences, even small ones. Even local elections have consequences. I, for one, will not be bullied, and I don't condone it. I would not be proud to see that behavior from my son, nor would my father be proud to see bullying from me. And furthermore, to speak to the solicitor, and this is all leading up to this point of view, we have an opportunity at this very moment to put Crafton Borough into a very unique position. I think the influx of young people moving into the city of Pittsburgh and the adjacent boroughs is very real. And an investment in Crafton and its citizens starts with this council, right now, taking necessary steps to ensure that. The good news is we have actionable items in our comprehensive plan that are ready to be implemented, giving us an agreed roadmap forward. The bad news, civility is hard, change is scary, and work is work. Investing in infrastructure is essential to modern living, whether that's roads and curbs and reducing blight. So is soft infrastructure. My point is this. In order to work together to get our goals accomplished, I think we need to expect more civility from one another. I can't demand it from anybody on this body, but I think I can make an issue of it when it's appropriate. I can hold myself to a higher standard, and that's always the hardest thing to do. I'll wait. But I think it's the only place for any of us to start. We don't have to agree with one another, and we cannot strongly disagree. We don't even have to like one another. But we're stuck living with one another in a place that's about 1.14 square miles. So everyone at this dais is a neighbor with one another. We'd all be happier people to learn to disagree without yelling and outbursts and accusations that have become very commonplace here. So I, for one, am in favor of a new solicitor. I am in favor of the motion on the table. I think it's paramount that we begin the process to change this community and move it forward in a direction for all citizens. No longer are we going to have any kind of accusations being flung in which things were happening behind closed doors. I think this process, because you are the council president and you have the ability to assign a committee as you see fit, you did exactly what you saw.
We don't have a committee, you said that.
He can make a committee. With all due respect, the council president
we
can
don't have a
assign a committee
committee
if he sees fit.
You said that.
Thank you, Mr. Kraus.
You just said
Please don't
that.
engage the
Point of
council.
view or whatever.
You address me as your chair. Thank you. Mr. Kraus, thank you. Your words have been very uplifting, and I couldn't have said them any better myself. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness, and I appreciate Mr. Amendola's thoughtfulness and perspective this evening. Is there any other member of council? Ms. Perry, you may have the floor.
I just want to clarify some confusion over what the actual rates are going to be. We have a document here that indicates that Ms. Scott, you and Mr. Rosario interviewed 4 firms. Is that correct?
This is correct.
Okay, and we have a quote from Bass Callan, the company that is involved in the motion, for a $500 retainer to attend both of our meetings,
Yes.
and that their hourly rate for a shareholder is $135 an hour, a senior associate is $125 an hour, a junior associate is $115 an hour, and paralegals are $100 an hour. And that while there was a proposal from 2014 that involved a larger commitment of a full retainer, that through the interview process, this company has made this offer where we're not doing a full retainer, but we will be paying at these rates that are stated in this document that was in our packets today. Is that correct?
Right.
I just wanted to clarify that point,
Yes.
thank you.
Can I have the floor?
Yes, Mr. Amendola.
Who made up this document?
The borough manager.
The borough manager?
That's correct.
Because it does say that this is a recommendation of the committee. And that's you and Mr. Rosario, right?
And the borough manager.
And the borough manager.
That's correct. That's correct.
So this piece of paper is what this is our contract with Babs Callen? This is all we have right now?
Mr. Amendola, that is a summary of the highlights from our interviews.
Okay, so is there anything else?
Okay. I mean, borough manager, we have
In
all
the
the other
motion.
we have all the other documentation that the other law firms provided for review if any member of council would like to review.
In the motion, the last part of the motion says to serve as the new Crafton Borough Solicitor effective immediately at the rates set forth in the engagement letter dated February 12, 2018. Today is February 12, 2018.
He's got a copy.
And,
yeah.
oh, okay.
It's the same rates quoted by Ms.
Actually,
Berry.
may I come out to the audience and grab it? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. I will read the letter of engagement from the proposed solicitor. It's regarding retention of Babs Callen, Clements Zoner, PC Borough Solicitor. So, Babs Callen is pleased to submit its engagement letter to act as solicitor to Crafton Borough pursuant to the rules of professional conduct applicable to all attorneys who practice law in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. A lawyer must communicate in writing the basis of the fees a lawyer intends to charge any new client. The purpose of this letter is to provide the borough with information about our services and how the borough will be billed for legal services by Babs Callen. Recognizing the increasingly complex and interdisciplinary nature of local government, I will be assisted where appropriate by the following members of the Public Sector Services Group. It says, we will be compensated for our services at the following hourly rates in 2018. Shareholder, as discussed prior, $135 per hour. Senior associate, $125 an hour. Associate, $115 per hour. Director, government relations, $110 per hour. Paralegals, law clerks, $100 per hour. In addition, there will be a monthly meeting retainer of $500 for the attendance of 2 borough council meetings. My hourly rate as shareholder will be $135, and this is from Mr. Stephen Corbel. So I don't know if that's a high enough level overview of the agreement in writing. Would you like to review, Mr. Vice President?
Mr. President, might I ask another?
Yes, you may have the floor.
I believe that Mr. Amendola made some mention of changing our budget and increasing our budget for legal fees. And I would just like to recall that the reason for that was to be more accurate in our budget as we are looking to increase potential legal action in regard primarily to some of the comprehensive plan movements to deal with blight, as well as some other issues that we have planned. Is my recollection correct?
That is my recollection as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Rosario, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
No. I think everything's been said and that needs to be said, I believe.
Mrs. Damitz, would you like opportunity to speak?
No, thank you.
Alice, would you like a moment?
Yes.
Okay.
I was still questioning these fees, like the $135, for a phone call, the starting of that, an hour. To me, I I don't know. I just realized talking to a lawyer, you can really start adding up those fees rather quickly. And that is what my concern is.
Yes, I share the same concerns, Alice. Actually, from reviewing 12 months of billing, we actually exceeded our $1,000 retainer. There were calls that were in addition to the $1,000. So I think we should not fool ourselves that the $1,000 retainer charged by our relationship with Mr. Welch's firm, that is the floor, and there is no ceiling. Obviously, when you have the ability to charge time and materials when dealing with any professional service. So it's really those members that have the ability to work directly with the solicitor to be good stewards of the community's funds. And as it is the responsibility of our borough manager to ensure that she's contacting the solicitor with only those things that she really feels necessary to facilitate the community's business. So again, we just have to be good stewards of the resources. My opinion as president is that we are starting out with a lower floor, and with any with regards to the $1,000, which we were previously being charged per month for 2 meetings versus the $500 for 2 meetings, and we'll have to see how the first months of the relationship with Babs Callen proceed. As with any professional service, we as a body have the ability to appoint another solicitor if we find that there has been a dereliction of duty and that there has been abuse in billing. So I hold this council accountable to that, myself and the borough manager, to ensure that we provide the best services to our community members.
My concern is, do we have a contract with them for a year, for 2 years? How does that run?
There's no contract. This is a.
There's no contract, is that what you said?
There's no.
I'd like a point of order. Mr. Amendola is out of line.
Yes, actually, you're correct. Thank you. Thank you. So at any rate, so we have this letter provided to us. There is no time in which, you know, a terms of services with regards to length, so it can be terminated at any time that this council sees fit, and I hope that we use our rights to ensure that we find that there's an abuse of any of the rights for the work that we act so prudently.
Point of information.
Yes,
Where is the contract for Welch's firm?
I have not seen the contract.
Does the president or the borough manager have an idea of how long they were signed for a contract for?
It's under the borough code, a professional service can be appointed at any time. There's not really a contract.
So the assertion that there needs to be some kind of contract in place, is that, in my understanding, is that actually not really needed?
No, but you have the letter of engagement that gives you the rates.
Okay, so
And
essentially.
that was provided when the proposal with Welch as well.
So any lawyer, whether it be Mr. Welch's firm or Babs Callen, they would serve our behest.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
As does the engineer.
Thank you.
All right, we need to continue on and maintain
There's a
order.
motion.
And so I'd like to put the motion to a vote, please. I would require that this be a roll call vote.
Mr. Amendola?
Nothing personal. I vote no.
Mr. Kraus?
I'm in favor, yes, I vote yes.
Ms. Perry? Yes. Ms. Glasser?
No.
Ms. Damitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rosario?
Yes.
Mr. Lavasser?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you, everybody, for the vigorous debate and the fact-finding that we had.
To the table.
Yes, this evening, we'd like to invite Mr. Corbel to take the seat of solicitor this evening. Thank you. Mr. Solicitor, you were next on the agenda. So
I just
welcome.
figured you could say hello.
Yeah, sure. I obviously don't have a report, as I've just been engaged today, but I wanted to thank council for their consideration of my firm, and I really look forward to working with all of you to help you accomplish the goals that you have set for your community, just as I have done with all of my other communities, that I'm here to work as a partner with you and everybody at the council table to make sure that you can accomplish your goals to move your community forward. I just also wanted to say a couple things to confirm that the engagement letter itself is not a contract, but it does bind me to the rates that are set forth in the agreement. Solicitors are at will. As Judge Gallo says, solicitors always have to have their bags packed. So once 4 members of council don't want me to serve as a solicitor anymore, I will gladly walk away disappointed, but nonetheless, that's the will of council. And then thirdly, I just want to address one issue that Mr. Amendola raised with respect to the procurement code. That is not applicable to the hiring of a solicitor in a borough. That's governed by the borough code, and we are, under the borough code, professional services can be hired without contracting, RFPs, lowest responsible bidder. Those are the things that the procurement code. That typically refers to construction type items, etc. So, and it relates to the Commonwealth and not to the boroughs, meaning the state of
I stand
Pennsylvania.
corrected then. I mean, it says right here that clergy, physicians, lawyers, dentists, they're all in
It's
the
applicable. It's applicable to the Commonwealth. We're governed by the borough code.
Okay, I stand
Just
corrected.
just like an engineer, you know, we would not have to advertise for an engineer if you didn't want to, but most communities do have a process where they interview multiple firms, and that's my understanding as to what happened here as well.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Solicitor. Next on the agenda is our mayor's report. Mr. Bloom.
Good evening. Just an item that we dealt with at the last council meeting as far as the traffic conditions on Broadhead Road between Crafton Boulevard and Cornell. The radar machine was up again, and between the 22nd of January and the 5th of February, we had 3,200 vehicles traverse that roadway. The average speed was 15 miles an hour, and it's posted at 20 miles an hour, but we discussed the 25 mile an hour urban speed limit at the last meeting, so we know they're going to go there. And the maximum speed that was recorded was on January 31st was 29 miles an hour. I had instructed the police chief to have an officer down there every morning for a 10-day period to observe what goes on down there, because Miss Allen, who was here, was saying that there was problems in there in the early morning hours. So during that 10-day period, none of the officers observed any speeding violations on the roadway. They did issue 2 citations, one to a resident for a stop sign violation at the Crafton Boulevard and Broadhead, and one non-resident citation was issued for a one-way street violation. So we'll continue to move that sign around, the speed sign, to any areas that are reported, but generally it's hard in some, depending on the time of year. So maybe 3 or 4 months we'll put the sign, we'll put the radar gun back up there again and check it again once spring comes along, and we'll see how things are going. But other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to move on to the business agenda meeting. I'd like to give the opportunity to Mr. Kraus to discuss the item A, zoning and planning. Could you please make that announcement?
insofar that there is a blight seminar Wednesday, February 21st at the Ingram Municipal Building, 7 to 9 p.m. It's sponsored by the local government academy. There's no cost to attend for residents. I will be there. I can't speak if anyone else will be there, but this kind of thing is exciting to me. And I think it'll be a really robust, educational, and informative type discussion. I know that LGA is sponsoring our newly elected boot camp classes that we go through, Mr. Rosario and I, and they are very in-depth and very good.
I agree. I believe actually the last meeting though, Ms. Scott actually took the people that want to attend. I think she has the list of that.
Yes, actually.
As a follow-up to that, Sam Nucci was the president council of Ingram, had called me this morning, and we've met on the comprehensive plan and the early intervention program, and we've met 3 or 4 times and had some really productive meetings on how we want to proceed, that kind of thing. So he asked if we could, if we would be interested, if council would like to meet on Thursday, March 8th at 6:30 at Ingram. That's their normal time, so that's our normal meeting, and they aren't going to have anything on the agenda, so they said that we would just be able to sit in and have that meeting with, Crafton and Ingram to review and proceed, keep on proceeding with the early intervention program. So I told him I would bring it up this evening and see if that date was available for everybody.
At what time?
6:30. He said they're open, like we want to make it 7 or whatever, but he suggested that's what time they start.
Okay.
So, and that would be at Ingram. Can I tell him that would be okay?
Is this going to be compulsory for everyone to attend?
No, it's not compulsory. We've met before on numerous occasions and how we move forward and, review of where we're at. And because the blight workshop is 2/21, he was hoping that maybe there would be some great ideas that we can review and discuss, and maybe how we can implement them in Crafton and Ingram.
What day is this?
It's a Thursday, March
Yeah,
8th.
I'll be out of town, but I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so I'm going to tell him that.
I'll be there.
Okay, all right, so I'll call him tomorrow and tell him that that's good.
Wonderful. Ms. Dennis, could you take care of item B under business agenda, please?
A motion to adopt the revised budget of 2018 budget as discussed and advertised according to the section 13-11 of the Borough Code.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President, this is just essentially making completely official the budget that we opened and then closed.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
It has to be advertised, it had to be re-advertised,
And it was-
on display for 10 days, so that's all been completed. And it has to be adopted by February 15th, according to the Borough Code.
Which is
Wednesday,
now.
or Thursday, today.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Ms. Perry, could you address item C, please?
Yes, letters of interest in reference to appointment on the Crafton Library Board are due February 22nd in the manager's office. I did notice that there are actually 4
Yeah,
letters
that
now.
was, yeah.
So we've got 4 letters received, so it's, there's quite a lot of interest, and if anyone else is interested in putting their name up for consideration, there are 2 borough council appointments to the library board that will be filled in the coming months.
Thank you.
Mr. President, do we have any, how does the process work for that? Do they just, who reviews them, who appoints them?
My proposition to this body would be that we all receive the copies from the borough manager, either digitally or in paper form, and that we bring those to council and that we have a review. We bring our thoughts to the meeting, and then we have a discussion, and we just take a vote.
You're up to interview them if you'd like to interview
Yeah.
the candidates. If that would be, but I was gonna wait and put that on the agenda because we don't, I mean, we could get 15, you know, by the 22nd. Do you wanna interview all 15? Do you wanna break it down? I mean, right now, we only have 4, so, we could do it before the first meeting in March, and then appoint that evening.
And these are the candidates that would be,
2 appointments.
our requirement to the
To the board.
501c3 board.
Right, but, you know, so I was gonna wait until the next meeting to determine whether you wanted to bring them in for interviews, whether you wanted to discuss it, but I would put that on the next agenda to see how we wanted to move forward to discuss it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on that topic? Moving on to section D of our agenda, Public Works. I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-01, Johnson Street Sewer Repair Project to be included in the Small Water and Sewer Program grant application.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the subject?
Was that not done, Johnson?
No, it was not done, we applied last year and it was denied, so we're reapplying this year.
And funding for this is through DCD?
Mhm.
Okay.
Actually, it's Commonwealth Financing Authority.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
That program, so it's clear. It's not on it's a grant application. It's not being done this year or anything. It's a grant application, and we've done this before, and we're not approved. And this particular project that they're discussing does transfers a lot of private property, and there's gonna be a lot of legwork involved if we do get the grant to get this, because they're gonna have to go to people's backyards and dig in basements all the way out to Johnson Street up through the rear of homes on Johnson and North Emily Street. So this is a project that's been out there for a long time, and it's not gonna be a cheap one, so until until the grant money's there, you know, we may just be looking at it again. So I just wanted to say that it's not being done, it's just a grant application.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that is a very capital-intensive project and will require lots of coordination with the borough manager, the engineer, and our legal services.
So, I'm sorry, just, so then that grant would be then for municipal, like the sanitary sewers, or
It's a combined sewer,
The
yeah.
combined sewer.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the replacement. Some parts are going to be lined, some parts will have to be open cut. We're going to try to eliminate as many easements as required, but there's going to be two or three additional manholes. Total project's about $195,000.
All right. I'd like to move, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Motion carries. I'd like to propose the motion to authorize second and final payment request, the joint O&M repairs year 6 payable to Shaycog in the amount of $29,405.01 as recommended by the engineer and included in the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, can you unpack this for me, Mr. President?
So, may I ask, what part do you want?
So, what were the payments made, what are the payments being made on, I guess, what repairs?
Operation and maintenance, that's usually cleaning of lines, the sewer lines.
Okay,
Where we do joint O&M, there's lining, open cut, CCTV, and cleaning of sewer lines, and we do that, a joint project through Shaycog. So they put out an RFP for all of the bids, and whatever municipalities want to participate, then they participate, and then we pay Shaycog, and then they write the check to the contractor, because there's numerous communities involved.
And this work was already done?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, next section, we have administration. the discussion of the service line utilities letter to terminate contract. This was reviewed by our former solicitor Gladys. And
I did review it at no charge to the borough.
Can I make a comment?
yes, for our manager.
Okay, I know Mr. Gladys had recommended that we send that in February, but today in my email, I received the spring, and we are required to do one more mailing, if you recall. So, I only got it today, so I did not put it on the agenda because I only got the email today. It'll be on the agenda for next time. So, instead of holding off and sending the letter now, I would like to suggest that perhaps that we send it in maybe in March, because we want the letter to go out as is, and we don't want to foresee any problems or anything like that. I mean, it's just a suggestion, council can do what they want, but, you know, but to send them a letter to not, you know, we're terminating your services, oh, but send that letter out as required, kind of puts us in a precarious situation. So I'm recommending that we maybe think about holding on to March.
Thank you, manager. I suggest that we table the matter.
Quick question on that though, when's the deadline for that letter?
You can terminate, you just need 60 days.
60 days?
And so I would just have to change the letter, you know, the dates in the letter, that kind of thing. You know, that we would, you know, consider, but under the contract, we did have to send out 4 letters, and we agreed to that, so.
Just for one point of clarification, if I can, the period is 90 days.
Oh, I'm sorry, 90 days.
Yeah, so if we don't terminate 90 days before May 31st, I guess is the date. So that would, I think that might put us in a situation where we may have to continue free, because it automatically renews if you don't terminate.
Okay, so, all right.
My recommendation would be to vote to send this letter now.
Okay.
So, because otherwise, you have May, April, March, so you'd have to do it by the end of this month in order to come within the 90 days. And I know it does, I understand what the manager's coming from with respect to appearances, but you have to protect yourself from a legal perspective, and I would advise you to send this as soon as possible, before the end of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Portable. With that, may I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do we need to have a motion, or we already have? So
We already did that motion.
yeah, so we're,
I just submitted the draft to you, and the solicitor did review it, and it was okay.
okay.
If it's already been approved by motion, no need to do it over.
Okay, very good. And then there is a discussion that I'd like under administration for the manager to have with us. So could you move forward with that, please?
Okay, the swimming pool passes, we used a service, and it was a recreation software. It's been in place for about 4 years. And it would print out our pool passes. You had to come to the administration office. It was like a credit card. They informed us last Monday they're out of business. So we're out of business with them. So there, you know, what I did was, and it gave a unique barcode, and then the person would scan their pool pass on there. So there's a few options, and of course these are not in the budget because I was only informed of this last Monday. There is an organization, you know, it's called Easy Facility. It's the same type of cloud-based recreational software. It's $400 a setup fee, $269 a month for 6 months, which would be $1,614. Includes the training and setup, $40 a month for 6 months because there's like a suspension fee. So it's approximately $2,200. Year 2 and beyond is $1,854. I did look at, because it's under the bidding limits, I really didn't have to get another quote, but I did, and there's a place called RecDesk. It's the same type of software, and that's $2,500 a month for 3 years, includes the training and things like that. The only thing that to be considered, our current printer that printed the cards out is 5 years old, and it was on its last leg last year, and it was included, there was $1,000 included in the budget for that. So that's already included, but we would also have to buy the printer as well. And the third option would be I called, Green Tree does it, there's a couple other polls locally, And going back to the old plastic tags. So now you could go with the tag, but as a female who does not like to wear the same bathing suit, and you don't want to put it on your bathing suit, you could do the plastic giant eagle tag. And it would just say Crafton Pool on it, whatever. The estimated cost is, I mean, they're not cheap, but it says pool club pass and you get Crafton on it, which is a little bit higher, but the estimated cost is about $800. Now that would be, we'd have to get, a new one, we'd have to order 900 of them. So, and you would just have to flash your little badge. You could go with the tin ones that you sew on your bathing suit or your towel. I mean, that's another option. I did not get a price for them because, I know a lot of people don't like them. But, they don't like to sew it on their bathing suits and ruin their bathing suits and things like that. So, there's several options. Again, it's the 21st century. We did use the credit card. It gives an initial barcode. They scan it done at the pool. It's not a budget item, so I wanted to bring it to council, see what they said. Do you want to try the pool passes and the plastic, like little giant eagle, the little card?
So, Ian, what was the other software, the cloud-based software costing us?
The Easy Facility, year
The
one.
one that just went out of business, what was that costing us?
Oh, that was about $1,200 a year.
So there's not a lot of difference?
There's not a lot of difference, no.
Okay, and are you using any, because I looked at this class of software, are we using any of the other features?
We are not. We don't use it for like making pool pass arrangements or, because the bulk of the system, even though it's cloud-based, is used at the administration office. So if you want to schedule like a private pool party, it has to be done through the manager of the pool because they keep the calendar, they make sure the schedule's made, they make sure that there's lifeguards available, that kind of thing. So we are not utilizing.
So we're really just using the printing, the pool pass, the printing, so if we think about any kind of ID card.
Right.
So I was just like looking around, and would something like, there's some very inexpensive software that would drive the printer to make the barcodes, and a lot of them even have the database inside, so
Right, so you can just do that and just do the printing of the barcode. They're a little bit less expensive, but now see, the only good thing about leisure services are, we could print out like, pool pass number 1 went to Sue Smith, pool pass number 2 went to...
Which a lot of the identity card software will do that as well, I think.
Okay, the one that I looked at, they did not.
Okay.
That was, I forget the name of the company that I looked at. But they did not. But this is like what the pool pass would look, I think I gave it, it's on the website. What the pool pass, it's like a little,
So basically you're saying we could just do something like that?
Yeah.
And not have any software or anything that we need to cut out?
May I interrupt the discussion? I was gonna, actually.
I was just gonna say, yeah, Alice is the pool person.
Well, I like the identification that we had last year on the pool passes. It would give an age, it would whatever, and things were not being passed out of fence, that people could reuse them. I thought it gave a lot more control of how we were having people come into the pool. And there was also money that would basically be earned because they would have to be paying their way in. I can't see what the other pass looks like sitting here, if you put it in front of me. But I did like the ones that we had last year, if we could get something very similar to that again, with all the identification on. I thought that was the best thing going.
Yeah.
Is that one?
It would open up a, here's my pool pass and slide it under the fence. But
What was the reason that we went away with the tags?
because people didn't like it, because they didn't like that,
That was
sewing it on their bathing suits and limiting themselves, that kind of thing. So,
Let me just maintain order.
and I wasn't here when they did it, so I'm like, that's
It's
so
important
important. I
that-
think that's the main reason.
Yeah.
Plus a little bit more security.
Sorry, I need to do a better job of maintaining order. providing people for. So, Ms. Damage, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you have anything else to add?
No, that was it.
Mr. President, this question is for Ann. So under like the software, did they track, could you track it all like, I mean, look, I went to the pool with a tag when I was a kid. We would just go in, and one guy had a tag, and the rest of us kind of just, pass the tag back, and we all went into the pool. So did we have any data to, were we tracking any, scans or
Yeah, the
frequencies?
software was able to do that. Now, Brad, if you
I know
and...
it's a bad example. Most people would
No,
be-
I'm not saying, but I'm not saying that didn't happen. If it was an 85-degree day and it was 12 o'clock and there were 50 people in line, could you, send yours back to, Phil, and they're gonna, because it doesn't come up with your picture, it just comes up with your name and your, your age and that kind of thing. Could you have passed it back? You probably could have, and they wouldn't have noticed it. It's supposed to like scan and say, oh, well, he was already in today.
Okay, so there was a fail-safe to prevent.
There was
the
a
same card
fail-safe
being
to it,
scanned.
but, on certain time, I'm not gonna say that it was, fail-proof, because on days that it's, crazy, it gets crazy down there.
Do we have any, this might be too like esoteric, do we have any, like, metrics on who is actually using our pool besides Crafton or Ingram residents? Crafton residents first and foremost.
We don't, for a guest, you do not have to sign in or say where you're from or anything like that. You say, I don't have a pool pass and here's my $6. I mean, we don't take like, where's your name, where do you live, or anything like that. We don't keep track of that.
Presumably though, with the scan-based system, they would know,
Only if you can buy a
40
purchase, a
Melbourne
pool pass. You can't buy a pool pass unless you are a resident of Crafton or Ingram or Thornburg.
Well, could I recommend that you, Ms. Perry and Ms. Glasser have a meeting on one
Okay,
day?
it's February.
Yeah.
The pool opens in May, so we don't have a
Yeah,
whole
I
lot of
understand.
time. If I'm gonna
understand.
do this, I need to get it
Yeah.
done quickly.
Yeah, I
so.
understand. So by next meeting that you guys have a decision, if we're gonna go traditional, the only thoughts I have, these are I'm sort of liberal on this actually. One part of me says, passing back of the pass isn't fair to those who pay. The other part of me goes, well, the pool's a loss leader. We want people using the pool. It doesn't really generate revenue. It's something that we subsidize and provide to the public. So I'm not personally interested in policing the children, but we do want to be fair to the families that actually pay. So with that being said, I think there are solutions. You guys maybe come back with a manager and you all be in agreement and make a recommendation, and then that way the borough manager can move forward with her business, because as the borough manager stated, we're short on time here. Ms. Becker, would you like
If
the
that's
floor?
your pleasure, then would it be possible for the three of us just to talk for 5 minutes after the meeting tonight?
Oh, yeah, or we can call we can call tomorrow, or, this week, or whatever. I mean, we don't have to push for this, but,
Well, actually, and Ms. Damas would like to be part
okay.
of the discussion.
So, Mr. President,
I
I can
want to make
clarify.
certain we have some sort of a notification coming into that pool.
Okay, well, Alice, how about if I send you an email and you can give me some time, like that you would be available since you're, away, and then this way we can check to see.
So the three of you can have three council plus manager can have a discussion, and then bring back an affirmative recommendation to this body.
Yeah. See, now I did get another organization, it's a 2D barcode capabilities, and that was only $495. So, but that didn't give you the other type of software, and he told me you weren't able to print anything, like, identify the type of passes that you sold, that kind of thing.
And quick question, how much, and you may not know this off the top of your head, general revenue that we, through pool passes, do you know roughly
I
what that
believe
was?
it was $30,000 is what or 20, maybe it was 25, 30-something thousand dollars.
So,
I mean, it continued to grow.
so Allison makes a good point. And
That would be pool passes. that may remain the same, but, and I will say that, you know, in 2016, which was a very hot summer, and it was the first year of our splash pad, we did have a large daily admission rate. And I wanna say like $20,000. That was very high. But 2017 wasn't as great of a summer. So, you know, it's all weather permitting as well. If we have a rainy, wet summer, our daily admissions are gonna go down.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to move on from that discussion. So that's tabled for right now. Next discussion. Oh, sorry, what?
No, the next item we already talked about, and I said I would put on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Library board and,
Except the date is the 22nd.
Yeah.
okay. And, any other discussion items for this evening?
I do want to talk about something. Going through the classes though for the LGA, learn a lot of stuff with them, the LGA being the local government academy. And I was trying to go through the Crafton website though to see everything about the township though, and I'm trying to figure out, or the borough, trying to figure out who's on our zoning board. Because on the zoning board itself though, there's really only 2 people that even have an active, I guess, appointment, and one's an alternate.
No,
Because like, so for James Shriver's, his expired December 2016. And Stephen, the chairperson, expired December 31st, 2017.
no, he was reappointed.
So that was all, because
Yeah, that's, there might be an updated one, I'll have to look, but I don't have that in front of me, so, there was an updated one.
Because I'm looking directly on the Crafton website, not looking at.
Okay, no, then it's probably not, I'm talking on your boards and commissions, that has been updated. I can look at the zone. That's one of the things I would like to use with the municipal intern is to
Have an update website?
Yeah,
Okay,
because there's things that we missed, but I can update the committees,
okay,
not a problem.
thank you.
All right, and speaking of the website, from what I understand, you've been doing research on web developers or web services.
Yeah, I have a copy.
Okay. Is there-
Otherwise, I haven't done anything with them really, other than, they have contacted me, so.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, moving on from this.
Mr. President, I have another matter I'd like to bring up.
Yes, Mr. Krausen, you on the floor?
Have we made any headway to any kind of reaching out to, I guess we could do this at the Blight seminar, maybe it's the first step, but is there any further discussion to reaching out to Ingram and forming some kind of, getting some kind of full-time enforcement officer that can split their time between the 2 boroughs?
Well, we have Rob here that does ours, and they did our Dave Morgan 2 days a week. I can hear them.
Okay, so that's, so am I hearing that nothing else?
I mean, you can discuss it during that meeting, if that's something you would like to discuss, then that would be the appropriate time to discuss it with Ingram, to bring that up at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And to that point, Manager, from prior discussions, I believe we also have some information that might be discussed for, is it for the fire code, fire inspection or code pertaining?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the proposal under the comprehensive plan. And that's one of the things that Ingram also wants to institute as well. So that would require a change of a zoning ordinance to require the annual or every other year inspections on
So that's
commercial properties. That's something that's definitely that Ingram would like to do as well. And that would be something that we could apply for through that DCD grant under the earlier intervention program to upgrade that ordinance, because it's going to take some time. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, but it's going to take some time to fit it to both of our communities and implement that kind of thing. And then, just to get it all started, whether we want to use BIU is who we use to do our occupancy certificates.
Okay.
That would be all part of it, and that's who also Ingram uses as well. So that would be part of the, maybe at that meeting we can determine exactly what we want to apply for and through the DCD as a follow-up.
Thank you for refreshing my memory on that subject.
Sure.
All right, I'd like to take the opportunity to go around the room and allow each member of council to, for those that are in the room, to just go and make an announcement. So starting with Mr. Amendola, the first, the reminder, if you could read the reminder.
I have some discussion under, the previous discussion items. I still have a discussion.
Oh, okay. So, all right, Mr. Amendola, you can have the floor before we move on to announcements.
Okay. I tried to bring this up a couple of weeks ago, a security issue.
Yes.
It's my understanding that the library has gotten new keys, and that, is that right? And
That's
some
correct.
cameras too,
Yes, that's correct.
and that library is pretty much secured now. And-
That's correct.
And the right people have the right keys, right?
Correct.
Okay.
My understanding as well.
The second part of it is that this building, I don't feel, is secured. There are too many keys out, too many places. We need to set up some sort of a sign out. If somebody is coming in to use the community center, they stop at the police station, they sign out a key. When they're done with the key, they sign it back in to the police department. There are too many keys. And I've had some residents tell me that they believe there are some things missing out of this historical society room back here.
Okay.
So I have a concern about security, and I'd like to see perhaps the council talk about.
Well, to interrupt Mr. Amendola.
Interrupt.
I think
Go
you
ahead.
make a valid point. I believe if you'd like to move on this, we should have a motion and we should vote. I think you make a very valid point, and
I have a request for information.
yes.
Do we have an idea of how many keys could there possibly be floating around the building?
Well, I know myself, I have one to the community center, and from when I did the clean out of the basement, I have a key to the basement of the Borough building. So I know right here, there's 2 keys that rest with me.
Typically, when somebody rents the community center, I'm having a baby shower. I would come to the Borough building like I'm having it on Saturday. I would come to the Borough building on Friday and borrow the key. And I would take the key out and I would have it all weekend, and then my baby shower's on Saturday, then I would drop it in the box outside. Because there's not a police officer here.
So were there people not putting the keys back?
No. But I will say that, the library does store a key over there because they have their meetings over in the community room. They were having in the historical room, but now they have in the community room. They verify that with, the availability. I know the Civil Service Commission has a key to the, I've been here for 3 years. I'm not exactly sure who else has a key. There's never been like a record of it or anything like that. But I do know that there are, like I said, Civil Service has one. There's some members of council that have a key.
Well, if I may interject, I believe Mr. Amendola makes a great point, and there's a device called a tile. It's pretty affordable. We could put a tile on each of the keys, and that way you could track where those keys are. That might be a solution. Or the police could have that tracker. They could have the login into the keys, and that way we could keep up with them as long as they don't destroy that. But if they destroy it, then it went offline, and you should know who was the last to have signed out the key. So that might be a solution. But
You could look into maybe even a keypad. I'd have to look into pricing. I have no idea how much it would, I have not even a clue what to say it would be cost to have a keypad installed. But
well, I think as a economic, and then
that's
to
what the fire department has,
yeah,
isn't it? They have a keypad
yeah,
to get into the fire department.
Yes.
Yeah.
And technically, they're not supposed to be making copies of keys, but
And they cannot. This is a master key. So you cannot go to Ace Hardware and go get a key made of this master key that I have. I cannot get. There is a key that just opens the downstairs door and the community center, and that is not a master key, okay? But like the key that you have, the key that I have, these are master keys, and you can only go to the locksmith to get these keys made.
Thank you for your clarification.
So that's the other security, point that we make, and same with the key over to the other side of the building. That's a master key. You cannot go to the drugstore and get, or hardware store and get that made.
Mr. Amendola, would you like to add anything else to?
Keep it simple, change the locks, give certain people the keys that we feel that, would be in need of them. You, the manager, the public works guy, and put one at the police station. I mean, it's pretty simple. Pretty simple, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of, you weren't gonna interrupt, were you? We don't have to spend a whole lot of money. Change all the locks and somebody wants to get in here, okay, we'll get you in,
Okay.
one way or another.
Thank you, Mr.
Can I
Amendola.
just make a little comment, and, when there was a dispatcher here that was easy to do that, to leave a key at the police department. Sometimes there's only one officer here, and, if he's on a call for any type of call, and, the library board wants to come in and have their meeting, they would have to wait until the police officer was free from his call before they could get into the building because they hold the key.
Thank you, Manager. All right, if I may make a recommendation, would it be possible for Mr. Amendola, Mr. Bloom, and the Borough Manager to have a discussion and propose a solution to council at the next meeting?
I can get some pricing I can look into keypad, I can look into, that tile system. I mean, just to redo, I would have to get a proposal for, just even rekeying the entire building.
Okay.
And it would just be the other side, because the administration side, nobody has a key, other than like the police department and,
Do you have any comments, Mr. Mayor?
And the other thing I did want to mention is
Yeah,
that,
Mr. Mayor.
the other thing I did want to mention is we just had a new security system installed. So, last week, fire and security.
In this building?
In this building.
Mr. Bloom.
The, changing the locks would be number one on my list, okay? Because you don't know how many keys are out there. You don't know, the borough manager doesn't know, I don't know. So who knows how many duplicates are made? So you start over, square one, put new locks on the appropriate doors that you need. You have a master key for certain people. Then you have an individual key that can be issued for, let's say, the community center. But it would be opened by the master key, but the community center key couldn't open the archive room or this room or anything. Simple as that. Master key will open them all. Individual keys for each individual area that you want to have people access. Now granted, you talked about the police department having that key, and they can go over there and request a key and sign it out. There are numerous municipalities that do it that way, and sometimes the person wanting to get in does have to wait, because I'll hear dispatch calls for a number of police departments need to open the community room. And the officer will say, okay, I'll be clear in 10 minutes, I'll come out, and he'll actually unlock the door. So start with square one, get the locks changed, and make them separate from each other, with the exception of the master key, and that can be done.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, I'd like to propose a motion that the mayor and the borough manager work in tandem to create a policy on keys for all borough facilities, specifically the borough building and the community center, and that they take such actions as replacing the locks as needed. And that's my motion. So may I have support for that motion?
So move.
Second.
So
Any
any
open debate?
any debate on that to allow the mayor and the borough manager to establish the policy for the keys to the facilities and to replace locks as required? Ms. Perry?
One of the things is the wording of the motion,
Yes.
because I think that one of the other things that Ms. Scott had raised and that I would support is to investigate keypads as one of the options. So
So would you like to amend the motion?
I would like to amend the motion to give them the latitude to investigate improving the security either through changing keys and/or keypads that would make it more, more tractable.
All right, so as Mr.
What did you
Amidola,
say, point of order or something? Can I say something?
If you have a question.
Now?
Ask
What-
for
what
the
is the
floor.
question?
Just ask for the floor.
yeah, Mr. Amidola, you have the floor.
How would a keypad work? I mean, you put a keypad down here, and then if somebody needed the community center, you give them the number and they get in?
Yeah,
And
you
then
would
it
have to,
changes.
right, you would have to do a keypad out front, and then they would, enter a
Put it
code.
in.
And then they would come in, and then you would be able to track it, and then you might have a different keypad, or you could leave it open all the time, you could lock it, and then you could put another keypad at the community center. I mean, I'd have to get a proposal.
And then you have to change those after somebody
You
uses
could
it?
change, no, you wouldn't have to change it every time, no.
Why
But you
wouldn't
could,
I mean,
you
if
could.
if you're gonna let somebody in here to have a party at the,
If it's 001234, and Ms. Perry goes in and goes 001234, and on her way out, she said, hey, $5, I'll give you the code. So you would have to be changing that code after everybody.
Everybody, right.
And we have those type of doors, I'm familiar with them. Each individual over at the fire department has their own code,
Right.
so they can track this. But, so if you use that code, you would have to change. If you told somebody, said, okay, there's the code, you get in the community room, and then when they're done.
There are individual use, so you could actually assign a code
Yeah.
that works for an individual use and then it extends.
Then you would have to, like, somebody would rent to the community center, that would have to change like every time somebody. Like now, if community gardens use it, they would be assigned 1, 2, 3, 4. The library would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or, something like that. I mean, I'll have to look into all this, I'm not a locksmith, so I'm not sure exactly how it works, so.
Well, if the only problem is the historical society, why can't we change those locks? And
The Historical Society is on the master key. The key that opens, that most of the people that come that rent the community room, opens the doors, as the mayor said, opens the doors and opens the community room. It does not open council chambers, and it does not open the Historical Society. Those are under the master key.
so then why don't we just change those locks and?
I mean, we could do that, I mean,
So we have a motion.
So anyway, I just want to
Yeah,
clarify,
so,
again, I have to do a better job. I know we take for granted the nonverbal cues in communication, but if you'd like the floor, please address me and I'll provide you the floor. Again, I'm trying to be better about this. We've had a very informal period, and I just want to make sure that we stay in course here. So with that being said,
Mr. President, I think Alice had something to say.
thank you, Mr. Amidola.
No, I'm just thinking of using that keypad, and I agreed, and I'm not sure who said it, I don't see people there. You'd have to change it every time then, or if somebody was gonna rent it, if I was gonna have a baby shower, whatever. That would have to be changed. I think we're better off with keys, no keypad.
So,
I can get proposals and we can get an idea.
I think we need to get proposals and see what would be work the
So
best.
maybe it's premature, the motion that I made, so therefore I'd like to withdraw the motion, and hopefully, I'm doing that correctly. To withdraw the motion, if you'd like to, this body would like to withdraw the motion, we can take a vote on withdrawing the motion. motion or proceeding with the motion?
The motion maker and the seconder would have to agree. You could also table the motion at this point. We did have an amendment on the floor, I think, offered by
Yes.
Ms. Perry. In order for the amendment to take effect, the motion maker would have to agree as well as the seconder. So at this point, you can either agree to withdraw, or someone should make a motion to table, which is not debatable.
I make a motion to table.
Second.
All right,
No debate.
all right, there we
I'm
go.
glad you're here, Mr. Corey.
There we go.
We're still gonna do all those in favor.
All those in favor?
Favor,
Table.
table.
Okay,
Table. All right,
so I am supposed to get proposed, because I just want to clarify. For
Yes.
keypad and, okay.
All right.
I just wanted to-
We'll work that.
Okay.
that was great.
That's a good one.
All right, so Mr. Amendola,
Clarify that.
it'd be my pleasure if you could make the first announcement here.
A reminder that all sidewalks, stairs, driveways, and parking spaces are to be maintained free of hazardous conditions during the winter weather.
Thank you, Mr. Amendola. Mr. Kraus.
Pakistan Act 537 Special Study, upgrades of the Woods Run wastewater treatment plant. Comments accepted through March the 7th, 2018. Contact Janine Clark, Director of Communications, copy of the study on table.
Ms. Perry.
Jordan Tax Service, collection of 2018 refuse fees at Crafton Municipal Building, Wednesday, February 28th from 1 to 4 p.m.
The Grace Tabernacle Community Church, Belvedere Street, Senior Pastor Tony Armstead, building dedication Saturday, April 28th, 2018, and that's our invitation for the community to be invited as well.
Is that invitation just for us or for the community?
That's for the
It's a
community.
community invitation. Mr. Rosario?
There's a shred event on Saturday, April 14, 2018, from 9 to noon over at the swimming pool parking lot area. There will be details apparently to follow, and sponsored by Representative Beasy and Senator Lee Fontana.
Ms. Demmons?
Allegheny Lead Safe Home Program, free repairs and qualified residents for a short on table, or contact 412-227-5700.
Thank you. And then we have our additional citizen comments for items that were not on the agenda. Is Mr. Dan Barry available? 250 Ewing Road, and you'd like to discuss the speed bumps. You can stay where you are, and I want to inconvenience you. Yes, you may have the floor.
As you're aware of, you just paved Ewing Road from Promenade all the ways down to the ballpark, down the CIT entrance. Great job. The company you hired was super professional, and the engineer that worked on the project too was excellent, going around to each resident, talking to us about our concerns, what we needed. That was done very well. One of the problems I see that you're going to deal with here this summer is the speed now. We had excessive speeds run on that road when it wasn't really even capable of doing the speeds that at 25 miles an hour is what's on there now. I know you did speed monitors before, but they were placed in the wrong positions. You only have 2 straightaways on that area, and this one, the one that was done there was put up right where you come around where DeSoto Street is. It's a blind turn. You have to slow down to make that turn, and then you had a monitor. So you didn't get a good indication of the speeds that were being used there. Now you got this place, it's a highway, it's gorgeous, and there was a ledge that was told to me that were supposed to be speed bumps put in, and that council elected not to do that for the cost. Understandable, but you can buy like temporary speed bumps that you put down during the baseball season, take them back up afterwards. During the tournament time that goes on for CIT, one neighbor counted 1,500 cars in a weekend that would go up and down there. Mainly nobody from our area. You know, these are people from Canada, you know, down south, Ohio. They really don't care. You know, the people who live here seem to maintain and they're respectable for the area that they're driving in. What you're finding out is the visiting teams or teams that come in with Canavan who rent the field, they're the ones that are notorious for speeding. So it's my recommendation to you that you head off a big problem here is to purchase speed bumps. I know in that area from Promenade to CIT Field, you have 14 children. These are elementary kids that live in that area. All right, no sidewalks. It's heavily used by joggers, walkers, people walking their dogs. And the other thing is you have 2 handicapped people that live on the street, me and one other guy in wheelchairs in that short span. I think it's something you ought to consider and address. And if you are, Mr. Mayor, gonna put back up your little speed monitors again, I think you need to talk to us that live there about the straightaways where they need to be placed and not in the area that was placed last time. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
May I?
Yes.
What we'll do when spring comes, I'll come down and we'll meet, talk, we'll bring Rob down and we'll get a look at the logistics. Permanent speed bumps, asphalt speed bumps, technically not legal. Okay? But the temporary ones, that I'm in favor of those, that you can bolt them down to the ground, put them in a certain area. But originally in the paving proposal last year, they had like there were 6 speed bumps in the plan. I'm going, you can't do that. I mean, the people that live there drive you nuts all day long. So let's start with a good placement for the signs this year. And if after the first review time, once baseball season starts, now I know what you're talking about. I'm familiar with that. So if there is a problem, then I will, and maybe get you to come back to the council meeting and ask council to purchase some of the temporary ones that we can put where the problem area is. You know, I know what you're talking about. They did a great job on the road, you know, and where that sign was, yeah, you're right. It was coming out of a corner, you know. Let's get one more up towards the Soda Street or up towards your house a little bit more. True. You know, but I think that Cary area between DeSoto and where we come up to the houses, you know, that would be the area. And so let's give me a chance to work on that with Rob, and we'll come down and meet with you, and let's see if we can handle it. Make it, you know, a successful baseball season and have no situations. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Berry, for coming this evening.
I want to say something?
Yes, please come to the microphone and address the council, please.
Kathleen Watson, 34 Fountain Street. I just want to say something about the tags for the pool. I've been going there since you built the pool. And I know we had the little tags on our swimming suits, and I can understand that you don't want to sew them on. Are you talking about the same thing like for Giant Eagle and Shop and Save thing?
Yeah.
Well, those little tags that you just sewed on have a hole. Why couldn't that be used the same as the little tags?
You could. I mean, you could sew it on your beach towel. But like they were a little small. Right. These are like a Giant Eagle thing that you could put on your key ring or something. Okay. And you could put it like you'd have one for each of your family. So if you have 3 kids, you would have 5, and you could put them on a key ring and put them on your beach bag. That's the only reason I was looking at the larger tag.
I think that's better. I really do. Sorry, Alice. I'm down there every day, and that thing did not work all the time. That machine
Well,
broke
but we're
quite a
taking
few
care of
days.
that as well too, because,
Okay.
the modem was bad.
Okay.
So, and it did go in and out, and,
Mhm.
you know, but then they didn't tell me till it was like 3 weeks later, and, you know.
I don't know, I just think for the cost, you know, why not just go with a little tag? You know, just to say, I don't know, it's up to you guys. I did want to point out that machine did not work all the time last year, yeah, and you know that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. As I see there are no further citizen comments and there is no additional business, I move that the meeting is adjourned.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.